Yee! Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tiffany and I'm the owner of Tiffany Gordon Cosplay LLC, which is a company that focuses on costume and prop fabrication as well as education. And if you're new to the channel, I'd love to have you as part of our cosplay building community, so subscribe and don't forget to like the video. On today's cosplay tutorial, this is going to be the second tutorial that I have for Marcelle from Delicious in Dungeon, and this one specifically over how to make her dress. And if you missed the first tutorial, how I made her shawl, I'll do a link for that one in the video description. So let's begin. And here are all of the tools and materials that you will need for making your own dress. And of course, you can always find my pattern for this dress available on my website, links in the description. And the fabric that I'm going to be using for this dress is actually the darkest blue in this image. And this I got from Joann's Fabric, and it is the Kona Cotton Mediterranean color. But you can use whatever fabric you want. And to first start off, let's talk about the shirt part of this dress. For the shirt, this is going to be parts A through G with my pattern, and you will want to place your pattern on your fabric and cut each part out 2 times. The reason for this is I plan on lining the inside of the shirt, but if you don't want to line it, then you can just cut out each piece once and not do it. Then you're going to pin the correlating parts of the shirt together, and we're going to go to our sewing machine. And I'm going to be using a universal sewing machine needle for this entire project. And for our first stitch for doing this, we're going to be doing a straight stitch, sewing every part until the shirt looks like this as one piece. And I like my seams to be nice and lay flat, so for this I grabbed my iron and I ironed all of the seams flat, and then to my sewing machine where I did a straight stitch to have them securely lay flat. Once that's done, you're going to grab your second part of your shirt and you're going to make it where it lays on top, having both of our top facing pieces lay towards each other. So both sides you should see the seams on the outside, and we're going to pin just the top part of the collar line together. And then back to the sewing machine to do a straight stitch to sew those 2 pieces together. Then you're going to flip it inside out. And after ironing the collar flat onto itself and pinning, I then went back to my sewing machine and stitched the top part of the collar flat. And once that's done, you can then sew the rest of the seams together, including the top, the bottom, as well as the armholes. And for this, I did a straight stitch. And for finishing them off, we're going to use an overcasting stitch, so that way we don't have any of our seams fraying. And that will complete the shirt part. Now for the skirt, and I will say the skirt, because of the specific pleating in the front, it is a little bit more tricky, but I'm sure you're gonna get it. And for my pattern, this is going to be part H, and it's gonna use the most amount of fabric. I highly recommend trying to do this in 1 piece of fabric as well. And after cutting it out, you will want to take note of where all of my lines are on the pattern, because I have specific fold indications of where to fold a specific piece of the fabric to another part, so you get the perfect seams. And I marked them with sewing pins first, so that way I could easily just grab and pull to the next part. And here's what it should look like after all of it is pinned down in the position that it should be folded. Then to our sewing machine, where we're going to sew the top part with a straight stitch. This is going to lock all of the top part of our folds in place. And then I went and ironed all of those seams so they were nice and crisp, but I still left all of our pins in afterwards. Now for attaching the skirt to the shirt. And for this, you'll want to find the center of both pieces. And I always just put in a pin into the center of each part, so that way I can easily identify the center of both parts and align them and pin them together, starting from the center and working my way out towards the edges. Then to the sewing machine, where we're going to first start off with a straight stitch and finish this off with an overcast stitch. And then on to the zipper and the trim of the skirt. And I will note that before I did this part, I actually did on the edges where our zipper is going to be a overcast stitch, so that way this fabric would no longer fray. I just forgot to film it. And then for that same edge, we're going to pin them together, starting from the top, working our way down the skirt. Then to the sewing machine, where we're going to do a straight stitch. And don't forget to say hello to your furry friend who will be supervising you. At this point, the whole dress should be sewn as one piece, and that seam that we just sewed, and we're going to iron it flat, but you want the seams, both sides, to go out away from each other. And then you can grab your zipper and we can start to attach that. And for this, you're going to want to pin the zipper so that way the pulley is facing downwards. And we're gonna start from the top and we're going to align it with the seam in the very center and pin it in place. A little helpful tip is I have a small cutting mat that I put inside the dress, and this makes it easier to pin just through the zipper and the top part of the fabric and not go towards the next layer underneath. And then to the sewing machine, and we're actually gonna be changing our sewing machine foot from our normal one to a zipper foot for this part. And we're gonna sew it with a straight stitch going down and then going back up to the other side. And that will complete sewing the zipper. Then you're gonna grab your seam ripper and we're going to remove that center stitch going the length of the zipper. And if you did everything correctly, your zipper, you should be able to freely pull it up and down to complete this. Congratulations! And then to do the trim of the skirt. And for this, I ended up ironing the trim once and then sewing it with a straight stitch. And I actually ended up ironing it a second time and sewing it again with a straight stitch to complete this part. And moving right along to the sleeves. And this is gonna be part I on my pattern, and you'll want to cut it out twice. And just like we did for the trim of the skirt part, for the bottom part of I, for the longest bell-like shape, you're going to want to iron that, sew it with a straight stitch, and iron it one more time, and sew it with a straight stitch to give your pretty seam. Then you will fold it in half hot dog style and pin it in place, making sure the seam part that we just sewn is going to be facing upward. Then we're gonna go and sew it with a straight stitch first, followed by an overcast stitch to lock it in place. And because this is an elf magical girl outfit, we have to make the sleeves partly close at the bottom. So for this, I did go back and I did a straight stitch to sew just that bottom portion. I will note you might want to put this on first, so that way you know how wide you want the armhole to be at the bottom for your hand. Then you're gonna pin it to the sleeve hole. And back to the sewing machine, where we're going to start with, you guessed it, a straight stitch followed by our overcast stitch. And the very last part to talk about with this dress is the details. And she has at the very top section of the skirt part, these little lace-up parts. And for this, I got some double-sided bias tape, which I sewed to itself to close it. And then I pinned it going in an X-like shape, folded it on itself, and pinned it going the opposite way. Did the same thing one more time all the way down, and then took it to my sewing machine to stitch it down flat in the center with a straight stitch. And it looked like this in the end. And then the dress would be complete. And that, guys, is how I made Marcel's dress from Delicious in Dungeon. And I hope that you found this video helpful for making your very own dress, or just a really pretty blue dress. Totally fine. It's actually really comfortable to wear, and it's probably one of my favorite costumes to wear right now of my newest builds for conventions. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. A big thank you to all of my company sponsors, as well as all of my members here on YouTube, specifically those legendary members who financially help to support me so I can continue doing this as my full-time job and my main source of income. And I will see you for our third and final tutorial for Marcel coming soon, which will be specifically over the staff. So stay tuned.